technology.
And all I'm gonna have to do is
get the Wi-Fi.
Well, I got the Wi-Fi. It does that for some strange reason, and
it'll still connect.
Yeah, it'll still connect. Look at y'all, we have a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're gonna get this on the road either way it go.
This bad boy can come right now.
Bam, that's it right there.
That's it.
Me and she are working it out.
All right, cool.
Look at it. We got this on
point. At the end of the Polo, at the end, we should like turn it around so they can see this setup.
yeah, man. What's up, y'all? Appreciate y'all for tuning in. This is your boy Polo DaKing live show. I'm doing another interview part 2 with Enns. And want to first of all thank him for taking out the time. He's a busy man. He has a lot going on, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure, man.
It's always a pleasure. And thanks for the coffee. It's really helping me a little bit. I feel it. I feel it in my bones.
Yep.
All right, man. First question is just explain briefly to the audience that might be new, that maybe didn't get a chance to watch the last interview, what all you do.
Awesome. I'm trying to remember what we said last time.
I think it was. I asked you, are you a producer or engineer? I think that was the question. And you explained it from there.
I think Record Ninja is
because I have that. Because I looked at you and I said, yeah, that's cool. Because I still got the footage. So yeah, I remember that.
I don't know what could be more accurate, because it does change. It changes from session to session, artist to artist, even song to song, what kind of role, what shoes I need to wear for that session. So I could be producing, I could be producing in the old sense of the word, like thinking about which session artists are going to play the correct sounds, or could be even down to composing a beat for somebody, or it could be as simple as hitting the red circle and making sure the mics are in the right place. Well, I say simple, I just mean it could be that.
It could be that. It could be that. Okay. Where do you think hip hop music is in Mississippi since our last interview? Hold on, not just hip hop, but hip hop first and then music all together.
Okay, cool. When it comes to hip hop specifically, my experience with it, I know, is very limited because of the quantity of that, the amount of work that's coming through right now. Maybe 1 or 2 or maybe 3 out of 10 artists are doing a version of hip hop, but even that is, there's genres within hip hop. So that's a difficult question for me to answer, just from the standpoint of I don't know that I could speak with authority on it, just because I don't know that I don't know that I know half of what's actually happening in the city with hip hop, because I think it's way bigger than anything that we're doing here. I think there's a lot of people making moves, a lot of plays happening. So
I like that. I like that answer. I like that.
Oh,
I like that. I like that. What about just music, period? Not just.
I couldn't be more excited. Yeah, and I think I am more excited even than when we talked the last time. And probably if we sat down and did a part 3 in 2 weeks, I'd be even more excited. It's kind of like a snowball, I think, that's like getting out of control in a good way, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm very amped about the music, at least the music that I get to be a part of. And like I said, it's hard to speak to the other music that's happening, but I can only hope and assume that it's also really exciting stuff that's happening everywhere else too.
Yeah, I think as far as hip hop, especially the independent, I see a lot of movement going on. I see a lot of people making moves and trying to get independent artists some airplay, some playtime. And it's really hard, I believe, for the simple fact, because it's not as big, it's not as out there as maybe a place like Atlanta or any other place.
What do you mean by that?
It's more opportunities for independent artists. I'm just gonna use hip hop because there are more outlets, there are more venues that they can, more just open mics where they can just attend to and go to. We don't really have a whole lot of that down here, and that's why I actually started doing these showcases, to try to give them another outlet. And it's other people doing the same thing. I just wish it would just be more, because I'm from Mississippi. I was born here. I spent some time in Europe, but I came back home.
Mm-hmm.
And I love my state, and I know we got some music down here that's just Mississippi is the birthplace of music. I don't care what nobody's saying. I just know we got a bunch of talent down here, and that's why I kind of feel that way.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think sometimes there might be, this could be true as well. Like the silver lining to the situation is that if there's less outlets and less venues, then the quality of your content has to go up a lot more because you're competing more to get to the few spots that there are. So it's almost like, I think a reframing of that would be, you know, it is very difficult to get a foot in, but it's also, once you get your foot in, like, you had to work harder for it. You had to get your content up to a higher level to get into that spot even. Yeah. And plus, like, I mean, the truth is, with the internet, you're really not tied down. I mean, you can be from Jackson, you can represent Jackson, and you can be proud of being from Jackson, or Mississippi in general, and you can be doing a show in Portland.
Yeah.
You could have a show. You could have, you know, a show in Indianapolis. You could be in St. Louis. You can do all. There's nothing holding back any of that stuff. You know, especially with the internet. I mean, we're like 5 years from FaceTime shows. It's like, it could be anything. You know,
you know
like,
what I'm saying? Yeah.
So yeah, but
especially how they just updating all these iPhones.
Yeah.
It's just, you can just do so much with them. And that brings me actually to the next question. What do you think about the combination of music and social media, the ups and the downs?
Yeah, I think we, as a society, this is getting deep. I think I like that. As a good question, Paul. I like that. We as a society need to be more conscientious of what we put out on social media. When you put something out on social media, it's essentially out there for the whole world to see. And so, naturally, people are at different points in their journey. Mm-hmm. And so, if we aren't careful with what we put out there, it's the same thing like, you know, a lot of people maybe had an older family member, maybe it was a parent, maybe it was an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent even, who was like, you shouldn't watch that movie. Yeah, at one point or another. And you know, at the time, it may be frustrated. But looking back now, and as, you know, your parent, and, you know, and we all have people that look up to us in different stages, and thinking about, like, what kind of influence, what kind of content do you want to, you know, help this person experience life through. So we should just be very conscientious about what we're putting out there, I think. And, you know, what does that have impact wise? So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
It does.
Specifically with music, like, there's a huge advantage to be had, mm-hmm. but there's also, I think, a huge risk, because you can kind of self-sabotage if you're not careful.
You mean, when you say self-sabotage, do you actually mean, like, if your career, as far as the music, you can self-sabotage it?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of how to explain this idea. It's in my head. It's like, if something feels right to you, and in that moment it feels great, because the world is so connected and the internet has made everybody kind of so interconnected, something that is feeling a type of way to you does not necessarily mean that somebody in India is going to wake up and take that content that you put out and mm-hmm. react the same way to it. So it's not a dumbing down, it's a respecting up, if that makes sense. Like, learning to respect other people's worldviews and other people's cultures, and thinking about the content that you put out there in a way that it's packaging it in a way that, if somebody wants to follow the rabbit and get mm-hmm. more in tune with what you're doing exactly, they can. But on a surface level, you're not causing, like, you're not doing harm to other cultures. You're not causing, like, friction with other cultures and things. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So basically, what I'm getting out of that is, make sure, especially when it comes to the music and you're using social media, that you put some thought into it.
Yeah, definitely. Like, specifically, I would say with the music that we make, let's think a lot about, like, how does that affect somebody that you didn't intend for it to even reach? And that's kind of more so what I'm going for with this, is like, there's almost no filter for the limit to the amount of people you can reach. And so because of that, we almost have a bigger responsibility to think about the way that we package music, mm-hmm. because it's affecting people that we never even may have intended for the music to reach and affect, and it will reach and it will affect them. And so you can't stop the internet. So it kind of forces us to take on the weight of that maybe and be responsible with the way that we disseminate information.
That brings me to another point, and Brad brought it up when I talked to him about a year ago. He said, as far as like when you're trying to promote your music, stop over tagging everybody. Mm-hmm. Like if you want to put out a song, don't be tagging 98 people because you. How did he put it? You're overdoing it. Mm-hmm. Because clearly, if you're friends with them on Facebook, it's gonna come down their timeline. But if you tagging everybody you know, you actually you may get on somebody's nerves mm-hmm. because it's gonna automatically come down their timeline. So with that, it's like, to me, the bad part with music and social media is it made artists lazy. Mm-hmm. Cause see, back in the day, you actually had to get out there. You had to get like flyers that you actually hold in your hand, pass them out. You have to go to like barbershop, different places. It's like now it's like everybody just wants to promote their stuff on social media and think that's gonna get them a buzz, when in actuality it's really not. It's a help. They should look at it as a help, as a tool, but not like their main way of getting their music out.
I love that. I think like just kind of riffing right off of that, it's also important for people to realize that just because you can get content in front of people, that doesn't give you the right to have them like it either. Like, yeah. And I'm not talking about like a thumbs up on social media or like a heart on Instagram. I mean, like, just because your content can be in front of someone does not necessarily mean that you have good content and that they're going to want to take that in and make that a part of their lives. So like we have to again, like, be really conscientious of the kind of content we're putting out there, because you know, if it's not great, then it doesn't matter how many people you get in front of. And I think like what Brad was saying, it's kind of, if you're putting this in front of a lot of people and you keep pushing content that they don't love, it doesn't matter how much you push content to somebody. If they don't love it,
it's not going to benefit you. Yeah. I like how you broke that down. I like that. I like how you broke that down. Yeah. Let me ask you this. What do you want to see from Mississippi artists as far as content, how they promote themselves, how they market themselves? Like, what would you like to see?
I think it'd be cool to see, and I'm already noticing this trend, so I'm just speaking to something that I've already sort of noticed, and that is like, I think we need to have more people like own it and be proud that they're from Mississippi, but not in a way where they feel like they have to put Mississippi on the map, because I don't think it's about that. I don't think it's about like trying to be the the king of Mississippi or this or that, as much as just do excellent work and let your music speak for itself. And be proud of the fact that you're from Mississippi, and realize that the heritage of music that comes from this area goes back way farther than any one person, and is going to go in front and forward way farther than any one artist. So, you know, you're sort of you're privileged in the sense of you get to be a part of, you know, anybody making music in Mississippi, like, we get to be a part of this story of Mississippi's music. And it's almost like, you know, I feel like maybe there's this bickering over, you know, so and so or this person or that person trying to be trying to put the state on the map, or trying to like do something that like changes everything. But it's not really about that, because that mentality has more, honestly, at the core of it, has more to do with putting that person wanting to put themselves on the map. But if you really care about the state as a whole, or you really care about music as a whole coming from here, then you're less concerned with trying to be the it or trying to be the hero, and you're more concerned with serving the scene in the sense of just producing really, really great music, making really, really great music, and let the music speak for itself.
Okay. I like that. And like you said, it's more of I think artists should look at it as more of a responsibility, instead of, like you said, just trying to put so much emphasis in putting Mississippi on the map. That's a big responsibility, because if you're putting music out there, like you said, and the content of your music is not up to the level it need to be, it could actually be hurting the state.
Yeah, and you know, also, Mississippi doesn't need to be put on the map. the facts are there. Like the history's already there. I mean, more. It's like it takes 5 states to equal the number of Grammys from Mississippians. Like the facts are there, so we don't have to put the state on the map. We just have to be proud and own it and keep doing great music. And how people respond to it is up to them. But like it's not a matter of like our backs against the wall and we have to put the state on the map or something. We'll never get past. Like historically, all of the great music has come from here,
Mm-hmm.
and will continue to come from here. Let's just keep making great music. And I think the shift just needs to be us being proud of the fact that we're from Mississippi instead of thinking Mississippi doesn't have anything and it needs me to make it something. It's no, Mississippi has great stuff. I'm privileged to get to be a part of this. I'm lucky to be a part of this music. Let me just be a part of the scene and do it excellently. It's like a subtle shift. It's like instead of focusing on yourself, focusing on the greater picture of the music around you, seeing back looking back to all the great music that's come, but not letting that tie you down, looking forward to all of the great music that will be made, and being excited to get to be a part of that forward momentum, that meta narrative that we're writing right now.
Okay. You know what? But what you said, I kind of feel like coming from a point of the age that we are, we kind of feel the same way where you said we don't have to put Mississippi on the map is with the history, but I feel like it's the younger generation that are not being taught the musical history that actually comes from here. So they feel like, because they don't know it, they feel like they have to make the history, history.
Can I jump in on?
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Because like even that I feel like is slightly, is something almost that maybe us older gents and gals we should like just help inform. Because I mean, a lot of this is not that old. Like I mean, you got what Silas is doing right now, what Seth's doing right now. You got like, I mean, a little bit further back, like in other genres, you got what Faith has done. You got like coming out of Star. You got like Snoop Dogg down on the coast. You got like, I mean, it's really not that far back. We're not talking about like Grammys from people that have passed only. We're talking about current stuff that's on the radio now that has been written or is involved with artists from the state, and it's not any one genre. It's across the board. You got what Big Crit's doing right now. You got like there's stuff all over, and there's just this negative perception of that there isn't stuff going on, and some of that comes from outside of us as a state, but also like a lot of that I think comes from within, and it's like this perception that we have like that we don't have anything, that we have to put ourselves on the map, but we're on the map. Like people come from all over the world to come to the Delta and listen to music here, or they come from like you could walk into Hal and Mal's on a Monday and see people from France checking out a Blues Monday, and it's it kind of boggles me. I don't really understand where the perception shift has changed, because we don't have to put the state on the map. The state is on the map as far as music. We just have to own it and be proud of it.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I just thought of this question. What do you think about as far as like artists having to actually go outside of the state to get recognition, to get deals and all of that right there? Like, do you? I hear a lot of times artists say, "Well, I can't make it here. It's too hard. I got to leave the state, but I'm gonna come back." And half of them don't come back. But what do you think about just the point is having to leave the state to reach your goal as an artist?
I mean, if you want to be an artist and you want that to be your career, you're gonna have to tour the nation and maybe even international if you want to do it for a living. So that is not a problem that exists only to people from Jackson or people from Mississippi. I mean, you could come up in Atlanta and you're going to reach your ceiling real quick if you stay in Atlanta. If you want a career, you're going to have to tour. And that's across the board. It doesn't matter where you come from. Everyone's got to tour. So if you're an artist that's from Jackson and you feel maybe jaded because you couldn't make a living out of just Jackson, maybe New York. Maybe New York is big enough that you can make a living and never leave New York. But you don't want to do that anyways.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to impact the world, or if you want to impact the nation, like, you've got to get out and tour. You've got to go travel. You've got to play your shows in other places. That's across the board. Like, that's part of being an artist for a living, to make a living.
And actually, I mean, that's where you're gonna make most of your money, because if you just think about, like, the old groups like Rolling Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these guys are like close in the 80s,
mm-hmm.
and they still selling out
mm-hmm.
shows.
That's where the sustainability comes from for them, for their career, is being out on the road.
Like, they're dang near 80 years old, mm-hmm. and they still.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Rush. I mean, that dude puts on a show. He puts on a show right now, today.
I haven't been able to go see one else, but I've heard, like, he will actually go over the time that he has and just keep playing and really don't care, because
he's amazing. So much respect for that guy. He's amazing. But yeah, I want to clarify this real quick. When I say like going on the road and hitting the road and touring, that doesn't mean either that you have to, like, move in the sense of, like, you can't stay. Like, you can do that from anywhere. You can have your house in Jackson, and you are gone for a couple months, and, you know, your girl is back with your pup and your cat, making sure that they stay fed, and you're out on the road, or vice versa. You're on the road, and your guy is back keeping track, or, you know, like, having a home is great. Having a place that's your central hub is great, and that can be anywhere. If you're from, you could be from anywhere, and that could be your home, and that could be your base, and then you go out and you tour, and you build your career off of that. I mean, there's no reason to the opportunities and what you're going to have to do to make a living is not going to change if you move to LA. You're still going to have a home in LA. The cost of living is going to be ridiculous. Yeah, but then you're going to have to go out on the road and tour if you want to make a living. But now your home bill is, like, through the roof.
When you could have just stayed at
home. You stay. If you're in Jackson, that's your home. That's great.
Yeah.
Pay that bitch off and keep the house, and then go in and hit the road, and then be all over the place and make your career happen. I mean, you got to do that no matter where you live. That's, being in a bigger city is not going to change what it takes to make an actual career happen.
Okay. What about as far as, like, performance, like live like artists that can go any genre, that can go hip hop, rock, whatever? Like, do you feel like the art of artists getting on stage and performing has kind of, I don't know if fickle is the right word, kind of went down a little bit due to social media?
I think there's always been great artists, and there's always been people who are looking for a quick fix. And great artists are artists, and you could take away the power could go out in the venue, and a great artist is going to entertain the people, and the people are going to like it and connect with that person. Okay, and if you're a great artist, then your art, that is what makes your career. And ultimately, like, you have to have that kernel if you want to have a career. I think you have to be a great artist, and then you can develop that talent. But it is sort of a gifting, and, it's not really a matter of there's no formula for it, in the sense of, like, there's no quick scheme to get it. It's like you got to put in the hours. There's nothing that replaces the hours, and there's nothing that replaces if you have the talent to engage with people and have people connect with something bigger than any one person in that room, including yourself. If people are connecting with that music, connecting with something, then you can take the power out of the equation. You don't have PA, you don't have lighting, you don't have, and if you can come through and you can make a show, then you're going to be fine. So yeah, I don't know that I would say it fickles out more so than, because of social media, we're more aware of a lot of people who are maybe trying to do it that maybe don't have that gifting. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but it's something that can be taught, or you can learn it, right?
Yeah, well, it's like it would be like, okay, here's how I'd explain it. It'd be like, not everyone is going to be Picasso. Not everyone's going to be able to paint a painting, like, on that level, or do art on a visual art on that level. However, like, you can take whatever talent, whatever gift that God gave you, and you can develop it. But there is a certain, like, gifting that He gives you, and it may not be in, like, everyone is not gifted in everything. Yep. So, like, a guitarist has been gifted with the ability to play